Today I wanted to talk about my experience adulting as an artist because it sucks. I don't know if anyone else will relate to this video, but growing up, fr transforming from a child artist to an adult artist is a weird experience, and I feel like not a lot of artists on YouTube talk about this. Like, I haven't really seen any videos, at least. So I kind of just wanted to share my experience to see if any of you can relate at all. First, you feel like your art isn't as good anymore. The reason I feel this has become the case is as a kid, your artwork is highly praised based on the fact that you are young. Like, if you see a 13-year-old post this amazing realistic piece that they've done, you're going to be more amazed because of the fact that they're only 13, right? But I feel like when you reach a certain age, like past 17, at least for me, you're still improving at the same rate you were, but it's almost as though you're not praised as much or you don't feel as good about your art as you once did because now you're old and your skill level is where it should be for your age or where it's expected to be. So, I don't know, that's just something I've been experiencing personally. I remember when I was like 14, 15, I've definitely improved since then, but the art that I was creating at that time was so amazing for some reason because I was only 14. And I don't think my progress has stagnated at all. I think it's genuinely just because of the fact that I was so young that I was praised so highly for the art that I created at that time. So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to mention is overall just having less time for making art. Obviously, as you grow up, there are other things that you need to start prioritizing, such as making money, working, studying, whatever it is that is going on in your life. And obviously, that leads to you having less time for your hobbies, such as drawing. The other thing, too, that kind of contributes to that is that art is no longer seen as important as you get older. Up to a certain age, art is something that is taught in school. Like, drawing is a skill that children are expected to have. But suddenly, once you go to high school, it's no longer pushed to be taught to every student. And obviously, that's expected because art is not a crucial thing or skill to have for every occupation. In fact, for most occupations that are not directly art related, it is not important at all. But still, it's just a sad reality of growing up as someone who enjoys drawing. And because it is no longer seen as necessary in school, that's just another thing that kind of contributes to having a lack of time for creating art is the fact that, obviously you have to prioritize these other things and you have less time for your hobbies. But also, on top of that, it's like, at least for me, in my mind, art kind of is like extremely unimportant. Like, you're not getting any money from it. There's not really a huge outcome from drawing. It's just kind of like a hobby where you're practicing creating art, and art is art. Whereas, for example, with reading is seen as healthy for your brain. So like that's a hobby that you can kind of be like, okay, well, I should probably do this because I'm improving my memory, or like, whatever other health benefits there are from reading. And I know that art also has some of those, but another hobby, for example, playing sports or like exercise of any sort. Exercise is good for your physical health and your cardiovascular system. So it's kind of easier for you to convince yourself to make time for that hobby. Whereas, at least in my experience, I have trouble making time for art because I don't really see the benefit of it. If that makes sense, let me know if you can kind of relate to that. Now, obviously, that's part of the reason I've started sharing my art online, is because it gives me a reason to create art. Just share it with people out there who like similar things to me, or also enjoy drawing, or, like the same video games as me, or like the same animes as me, or, whatever it is I'm drawing. The next thing I want to talk about, which is kind of random, but I also think it relates, is that as you get older, I feel like drawing in public becomes somewhat embarrassing. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but once I got into high school, art kind of became this thing that I felt I had to keep hidden. Like, if I drew at school, I would be made fun of. And it's not even just in high school that this would happen. There's just something that feels wrong in a way about drawing in public. Like, I feel almost embarrassed or awkward. It's not something I experience as much anymore, but it's still something that adds to overall just having a lack of time and lack of opportunity for creating art. Because if you're also embarrassed, let's say you're like sitting waiting for a train or the subway or whatever it is, and you have a little bit of time to kill, instead of scrolling on your phone through TikTok for 20 minutes, you could have been drawing something. But since it kind of feels embarrassing almost to be drawing in public, it's not, it's easier to just scroll through your phone, you get what I'm saying. The next thing is that making art costs money. Now that you're an adult, this means you gotta pay for your own art supplies, and as we all know, that shit is expensive as fuck. For the good quality art supplies, obviously you can still create art with like Crayola and, crayons, cheap pencil crayons, whatever, even just pencil and paper and eraser. But to color your artworks, to get markers, to get pencils, to get paint, canvases, sketchbooks, whatever it is that you need to create your art, or whatever form of art it is that you create, whether it's music, etc., 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 etc. All of it is expensive. All of it costs money. And that's it. It's an extra barrier to creating art. The last thing I wanted to talk about is as you become an adult, feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, comparing yourself to other artists, feeling in competition with other artists, all that sort of stuff becomes a more prevalent issue. Like, as a kid, obviously, you might feel a little bad about your artworks, but you're a kid, so it's not like you care too much what other people think about your art. And if you feel like it's bad, you are at least like, okay, well, I'm young, so it's whatever. And I think as well, at least in my childhood, social media was not as crazy as it is now. So having access to seeing all of these other artists on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it may be wasn't really a thing for me. And now that I'm older, it is. And so seeing all these artworks online it makes it easier for me to compare myself to other artists. And it's not that I feel in competition with other artists, I just feel bad about my own art when I see other skilled artists' artworks. And I'm like, damn, I could never create that. But yeah, I don't know. That's just a feeling of insecurity that I personally need to work on. And I know that for some people, competition can be encouraging and motivating to work harder, but at least for me, it just makes me not even want to try. Let me know in the comments if you related to anything I spoke about in this video. I would love to hear about each and every one of you's experiences. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it educational, at least, or helpful in any way. Not that I shared really anything helpful, but I don't know, maybe that you just related to anything I said or felt less alone in adulting as an artist. Yeah, give the video a like if you enjoyed. Consider subscribing to join the cult. We'd love to have you here. We have a great time. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.